The alarm screamed through the colony halls. Administrator Quilvin pressed his translucent hands against the cold metal wall and tried to stay calm. Outside, the Krell were coming closer. He could hear their clicking sounds through the walls. The sound made his skin turn pale with fear. Quilvin was the leader of the Veltharian mining colony on Theta 7. His people had come here 3 years ago to mine rare crystals. Life had been peaceful until yesterday. Then the Krell arrived. They came from the dark side of the moon, thousands of them, like a black wave of death. The Krell were insect creatures, each one as big as a ground vehicle. They had sharp claws that could cut through metal. Their jaws could crush bone. They didn't talk. They didn't negotiate. They just killed and consumed everything. Quilvin's people were not fighters. The Veltharians were a peaceful species. They had soft bodies and weak limbs. Their home planet had calm oceans and gentle weather. They had never needed to fight. Now, 300 of his people were dead. Only 200 remained, hiding in the deepest part of the colony. He had sent distress signals to every species in the Galactic Council. The responses made his hope die a little more each time. The Draxian Empire said they were too far away. The Corvin Federation said it was too dangerous. The Zenthari Collective simply said no. Even the mighty Kragnoth warriors refused. They said the Krell were too many. The colony was already lost. It was better to let it go. Quilvin looked at the communication console. One more signal, one more try. He recorded his message, his voice shaking. This is Administrator Quilvin of the Veltharian colony on Theta 7. We are under attack by the Krell swarm. We have lost half our people. We have maybe 1 day left. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We have children here. We have families. Please. He sent the message into the darkness of space and waited. His assistant Telvara came to stand beside him. Her skin was almost white with fear. Any response? She asked. Quilvin shook his head. No one will come. We know this now. They sat in silence. Outside, the clicking sounds grew louder. The Krell were breaking through the outer defenses. Soon they would reach the main colony. Then it would be over. Hours passed. Quilvin prepared to make a final stand. He gathered the strongest Veltharians, though even the strongest of his people could barely lift a weapon. They would die trying to protect their families. Then the console beeped. Quilvin rushed to it. A message was coming through. But the language was strange. The translation software took a moment to process it. When the words appeared on his screen, Quilvin read them 3 times. He couldn't believe it. We're coming. Hold on. The signal came from a planet called Earth. Quilvin quickly searched the galactic database. Earth was listed as a Class 12 death world in the Outer Rim. Class 12. That was the highest danger rating. The database said the planet had extreme gravity, violent weather, dangerous predators, and deadly diseases. It said the native species called humans were classified as potential apex predators. The database also said humans had never left their home system. They were not part of the Galactic Council. They had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. Telvara read the message over his shoulder. Humans? From a Class 12 world? Are they insane? Quilvin didn't know. But they were the only ones who answered. The only ones who said they would come. How long until they arrive? Telvara asked. Quilvin checked the calculations. If they're coming from Earth, at least 3 days, maybe 4. We don't have 3 days. I know. Quilvin made an announcement to all remaining colonists. Help was coming from a species called humans. He didn't mention the Class 12 rating. He didn't mention that no one else would help. He just told them to hold on a little longer. The Krell attacked again that night. They broke through the second defense wall. 50 more Veltharians died. Quilvin and his people retreated to the inner chambers. They sealed the doors with everything they had. 1 day passed, then 2. The Krell were at the final door. Quilvin could hear them scratching at the metal. The children were crying. The adults were preparing to die. Then Telvara shouted, "Ship entering orbit! It's them! The humans are here!" Quilvin rushed to the monitors. A ship was descending toward the moon. It was small, much smaller than he expected. How many soldiers could it carry? 10? 20? They needed hundreds. The ship landed near the colony's main entrance, right where the Krell were thickest. Quilvin thought it was suicide. He watched the monitor, waiting to see the ship destroyed. The ship's door opened. 5 figures stepped out. They were tall, taller than Veltharians. They wore simple armor, not the heavy protective suits that most species needed on hostile worlds. They carried weapons that looked primitive, made of metal and chemical propellants, not energy weapons. One of them, a male with dark hair, looked directly at the nearest camera. He spoke, and the translator processed his words. "Administrator Quilvin, this is Captain Junho of Earth. We're here to help. Where are your people?" Quilvin's hands shook as he activated the communication. "Captain Junho, you need to retreat immediately. There are thousands of Krell between you and us. You don't have enough soldiers." The human called Junho looked at his 4 companions. Then he looked back at the camera. His face showed something that Quilvin had never seen before. It wasn't fear. It wasn't confidence. It was something else. Something calm and terrible. "Administrator," Junho said, "we're not soldiers. We're just humans. Now tell me where your people are so we can get to work." Behind the humans, the Krell noticed them. Dozens of the insect creatures turned and started moving toward the 5 figures. Quilvin wanted to scream a warning. He wanted to tell them to run. But the words stuck in his throat, because the humans didn't run. They didn't even look worried. The female with long dark hair checked her weapon. The tall male cracked his knuckles. The shorter female adjusted something on her equipment belt. The lean male stretched his shoulders. And Captain Junho simply smiled. "See you soon, Administrator," he said. Then the 5 humans walked directly toward the Krell swarm, and Quilvin understood for the first time what it meant to come from a Class 12 death world. The first Krell warrior lunged at the humans. Quilvin watched from the monitor, certain he was about to witness their deaths. The Krell warrior was massive, its claws extended, its jaws open to tear flesh. Captain Junho moved. Quilvin had never seen anything move that fast. The human captain stepped to the side, letting the Krell pass, and fired his weapon. The sound was deafening even through the monitor speakers. The Krell warrior's head exploded. The other 4 humans spread out. They moved like water, flowing around the Krell attacks. Their weapons fired again and again. Each shot found its target. Krell warriors fell, but more came. Dozens more. They swarmed from every direction. Quilvin wanted to look away. He couldn't watch these beings die for his people. But Telvara grabbed his arm. "Watch," she whispered. "Just watch." The female with long dark hair, the one Junho called Yuna, rolled under a Krell's strike and came up shooting. The tall male named Taiyang didn't dodge at all. He stood his ground and fired methodically, dropping Krell after Krell. The shorter female, Hana, threw small objects that exploded when Krell stepped on them. The lean male, Dongwu, used his weapon like a club when Krell got too close, breaking their armor with raw strength. They fought for 10 minutes, 20, 30. The Krell kept coming. The humans kept killing them. Finally, the Krell pulled back. Quilvin counted at least 60 dead Krell around the human team. The humans had some cuts and bruises, but they were all standing. They were all still moving. "What are they?" Telvara whispered. Quilvin had no answer. The humans made their way to the colony entrance. Quilvin opened the inner door and waited in the safe chamber. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. When the door opened, the 5 humans walked in. They were covered in Krell blood. Their armor had scratches and dents, but they walked like they had just come from a casual stroll. Quilvin and Telvara stared. Up close, the humans were even more frightening. They were tall and muscular. Their eyes were sharp and focused. They moved with perfect balance despite the low gravity that made Veltharians clumsy. Captain Junho removed his helmet. His face was young, but his eyes were old. He looked at Quilvin and gave a small nod. "Administrator Quilvin, I presume?" Quilvin managed to speak. "Yes, Captain Junho, we didn't expect. There are only 5 of you." "5 is all you need," the female named Yuna said. She was checking her medical equipment, not even breathing hard after the fight. "But the Krell," Quilvin said. "There are thousands of them. They're in the mining tunnels. They've established a nest in the deep chambers. We've lost so many people already." Junho looked at his team. "Thoughts?" The male named Tai Yang shrugged. "Standard extermination protocol. Find the queen, eliminate the nest, clear the tunnels. Explosives will work best in confined spaces," Hana added. "Do you have mining charges here?" Quilvin nodded, still too shocked to understand what was happening. "Good," Junho said. "We'll need a map of the tunnel system and any information you have on Krell behavior." "Captain," Quilvin said slowly, "I don't think you understand. The Krell have killed 300 of my people. They're vicious, they're relentless, they don't stop, and there are so many of them." Junho looked at him. Those old eyes studied Quilvin's face. Then the human captain spoke quietly. "Administrator, what's Earth's gravity compared to this moon?" Quilvin checked his data pad. "Earth's gravity is 2.3 times standard. This moon is 0.7 standard." "And what's Earth's atmospheric pressure?" "Higher than standard. Your planet has more oxygen, more nitrogen, higher pressure overall." "What about predators? Does this moon have any native predators?" Quilvin shook his head. "No. The Krell are the only dangerous creatures here." Junho nodded. "On Earth, we have predators that hunt in packs. We have predators that hunt alone. We have predators in the oceans, on the land, in the air. We have predators that see in the dark better than in the light. We have predators that can smell blood from kilometers away. We have predators that have hunted us for millions of years." He gestured to his team. "We're still here. We learned to hunt them back. The Krell are dangerous to you because you've never had to fight predators before. To us, they're just another Tuesday." Yuna stepped forward. She was gentler than Junho, her voice softer. "Administrator, I'm a medical officer. May I check on your wounded?" Quilvin led her to the medical chamber. 30 injured Veltharians lay on beds, their translucent skin showing dark internal injuries. Yuna's expression changed. She moved from bed to bed, examining each patient. "You don't have proper medical equipment," she said. It wasn't a question. "We have what the Galactic Council provides for Class 3 worlds," Quilvin explained. "Our people rarely get injured. We never expected to need combat medical facilities." Yuna made a sound that might have been frustration. She opened her medical pack and began pulling out instruments. Quilvin watched as she worked. Her hands moved with perfect precision. She knew exactly what to do for each injury. Within an hour, she had stabilized patients that Veltharian doctors had given up on. "How did you learn this?" Quilvin asked. Yuna didn't look up from her work. "Earth has diseases that kill millions. Earth has injuries from falls, from fights, from accidents. Human bodies break easily because we live in a dangerous world. So we got very good at fixing them." Meanwhile, Hana was examining the colony's equipment. The Veltharian engineers followed her nervously as she moved from system to system. "Your power grid is inefficient," she said. "Your defense systems are too slow. Your communication arrays are too fragile." She pulled out tools and started making modifications. "Don't worry, I'm fixing it." "But those systems were designed by the best engineers in the Galactic Council," one Veltharian protested. Hana smiled. "I'm sure they were, but they were designed for safe worlds." Human engineering is designed for when everything goes wrong at the worst possible time. Taeyang and Dongwu were studying the map of the tunnel system. Quilvin joined them. The Krell came from here, Quilvin pointed. They moved through the main mining shaft and established their nest in the crystal chamber. We tried to seal the tunnels, but they broke through every barrier. Taeyang traced the routes with his finger. Multiple entry points, good defensibility for them. Bad for us. We could use gas, Dongwu suggested. Too many branches, they'll have ventilation routes we can't see. No, we go indirect. Quilvin listened to them plan. They talked about the mission like it was a simple task. Like fighting through thousands of Krell was just a matter of choosing the right approach. Excuse me, Quilvin said, but you're planning to go down there? Into the tunnels? Where the Krell are strongest? Both humans looked at him. Dongwu smiled. Where else would we go? But you'll be trapped. They'll surround you. You'll be in their territory. Taeyang's expression didn't change. Administrator, humans are ambush predators. We evolved hunting in tall grass and dense forests. We learned to fight in caves and jungles and buildings. Confined spaces don't scare us. They're where we're most dangerous. That night, Quilvin couldn't sleep. He watched the humans prepare. They checked their weapons and equipment with careful attention. They talked quietly among themselves, sometimes laughing at jokes Quilvin didn't understand. They weren't scared. That was what disturbed him most. Every other species Quilvin knew would be terrified to go into those tunnels. But the humans seemed almost comfortable. Junho found him watching. The captain sat down beside him. You're worried, Junho said. Of course I'm worried. You're 5 people going against thousands of Krell. The mathematics alone. Mathematics don't account for everything, Junho interrupted gently. You sent a distress call. No one answered except us. Do you know why? Quilvin shook his head. Because everyone else calculated the odds. They saw it was impossible. They saw it was too dangerous. They saw that trying to help would probably end in death. Junho looked at him. But humans don't always follow the mathematics. Sometimes we do things just because they need to be done. Sometimes we fight impossible odds just because someone asked for help. That's insane, Quilvin whispered. Junho smiled. Probably. But we come from an insane world. Maybe it taught us to be a little insane too. He stood up and rejoined his team. They gathered their equipment and headed toward the tunnel entrance. Quilvin watched them go. 5 humans walking into certain death to save people they had never met before. People from a species they had just learned existed. Telvara stood beside him. They're going to die down there. I know, Quilvin said, but part of him, a small part, wondered if maybe the Veltharians didn't understand Deathworlders at all. The human team stood at the tunnel entrance. Quilvin had given them every map and every piece of information the colony had. It wouldn't be enough. He knew it wouldn't be enough. We'll set up observation cameras on your helmets, Telvara said. She was the colony's technology officer. Her hands shook as she attached small devices to each human's armor. So we can see what happens. Yuna touched her arm gently. We'll be fine. You can't know that. No, Yuna admitted. But we're trained for this. Trust us a little. The humans descended into the tunnels. Quilvin and Telvara returned to the command center. Several other Veltharians joined them. They all gathered around the monitors that showed feeds from the human helmet cameras. At first, nothing happened. The humans moved through the dark tunnels in silence. Their lights cut through the blackness. The tunnels were quiet, too quiet. Where are the Krell? Someone whispered. Junho's voice came through the speaker. They're here. They're watching us. How do you know? Quilvin asked. I can smell them. We all can. Quilvin looked at Telvara. Veltharians had a very weak sense of smell. Most advanced species did. It was considered primitive to rely on smell. They moved deeper. The tunnels got narrower. The Veltharians watching started to feel uncomfortable. The space was too tight, too confining. "Doesn't this bother you?" Quilvin asked. "The enclosed space?" "No," Dongwu answered. "Humans lived in caves for thousands of years. This feels normal." Normal. These tunnels felt like death traps to Quilvin, and the humans thought they felt normal. Then the Krell attacked. They came from ahead and behind simultaneously, dozens of them, their clicking sounds filling the tunnel. The Veltharians watching gasped. The humans didn't panic. They shifted into formation instantly. Junho and Taiyang faced forward. Dongwu and Hana faced backward. Yuna stayed in the center, her weapon ready to support either direction. The fight was brutal. In the narrow tunnel, the Krell couldn't use their numbers effectively. They could only come a few at a time, and each time they came, the humans killed them. But what shocked Quilvin wasn't just that the humans won. It was how they fought. They used the tunnel walls. They used the low ceiling. They used the Krell's own bodies as barriers. When a Krell died, they positioned its corpse to block others. They fought with perfect coordination, each human knowing exactly where the others were without looking. "How are they doing this?" a Veltharian engineer asked. "How do they know where each other is?" "Practice," Junho said, hearing the question through the communication link. "Humans have fought in groups for our entire history. We evolved to work together against bigger, stronger predators." The Krell retreated. The humans pushed forward. They moved through the tunnels like they owned them. "Captain," Quilvin said, "your heart rate is elevated but stable. Your breathing is controlled. Aren't you afraid?" "Fear is a tool, Administrator," Junho replied. "It keeps us alert. It makes us faster. Humans learn to use fear instead of being controlled by it." They found the first Krell nest chamber. It was a large cavern filled with eggs and larvae. Hana planted charges while the others held off attacking Krell warriors. "Detonating in 3, 2, 1, Hana said calmly. The explosion shook the entire colony. The Veltharians cried out in alarm, but the humans just moved to the next chamber. Back in the command center, Quilvin was reviewing the data from the humans' armor sensors. What he saw made no sense. "Telvara, look at this. Their body temperature is elevated, but not dangerously. Their muscle strain is high but sustainable. They're fighting at peak efficiency in conditions that should have exhausted them hours ago." Telvara checked the numbers. "Their biology doesn't match any species I've studied. Look at their oxygen consumption. They're processing air more efficiently than should be possible in this environment." Quilvin pulled up the Earth database again. He read more carefully this time. Humans had evolved on a planet where oxygen was plentiful, but where competition for resources was fierce. They had developed endurance that other species didn't have. They could keep going long after other creatures tired. He read about human history, wars that lasted years, hunts that lasted days, humans who climbed mountains or crossed deserts just to prove they could, humans who survived injuries that would kill most beings. "They're not normal," Quilvin whispered. "No," Telvara agreed. "They're Deathworlders." In the tunnels, the humans were still advancing. They had cleared 3 nest chambers now. The Krell were becoming more aggressive, more desperate. Yuna treated injuries as they went. Junho took a claw slash across his arm. Yuna cleaned it, sealed it, and gave him a shot of something in less than 2 minutes. Junho kept fighting. "That wound should incapacitate you," Quilvin said. "It's not that deep," Junho replied. "I've had worse." "How much worse?" "Much worse." They fought for 6 hours straight, 6 hours of constant combat. The Veltharians watching were exhausted just from viewing it. The humans showed signs of fatigue but never stopped. Finally, they reached a large chamber. The camera feeds showed a massive space filled with Krell, hundreds of them, and in the center something huge. "That's the queen," Taiyang said quietly. The Krell queen was enormous. She was 3 times the size of the warrior Krell. Her body was armored with thick plates. She had multiple limbs, each one tipped with blade-like claws. Around her, eggs covered the floor. "There are too many," Quilvin said. "Please, you've done enough. Retreat. We'll find another way." Junho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "Administrator, how many of your people did the Krell kill?" 312. "And how many are still alive?" 188. "Then we're not retreating. Not until every single one of your people is safe." The humans moved into formation. They checked their weapons. They prepared their explosives. "This is going to be loud," Hana said. "It always is," Dongwu replied. They charged into the chamber. Quilvin watched the feeds. He saw things he would never forget. He saw Junho dodge between Krell warriors, placing charges on support columns. He saw Taeyang hold a position alone against 20 Krell while the others worked. He saw Hana modify a mining laser into a weapon and cut through Krell armor. He saw Dongwu get knocked down, get back up, and keep fighting. He saw Yuna shoot a Krell that was about to kill Junho, then immediately turn and shoot another. They fought like they were one organism, like they shared a mind, like they had done this 1,000 times before. The Krell Queen roared. She moved forward to attack. The humans scattered, drawing her away from the eggs. Then Junho shouted something. "Now!" Hana pressed a button. The explosions were massive. The charges on the support columns detonated simultaneously. The ceiling started to collapse. The humans ran for the exit while tons of rock fell behind them. The camera feeds went dark with dust and debris. For several terrifying seconds, Quilvin couldn't see anything. Then the dust cleared. All 5 humans were standing outside the chamber. Inside, the entire ceiling had collapsed. The queen was buried. The eggs were destroyed. The nest was gone. The humans walked back through the tunnels. They encountered scattered groups of Krell warriors, but without the queen, the Krell had lost their coordination. They were easier to handle now. When the humans finally emerged from the tunnels, they had been underground for 8 hours. They were covered in dust, blood, and Krell fluid. They had burns, cuts, and bruises covering their bodies. But they were all alive, and they were smiling. Quilvin met them at the entrance. He didn't know what to say. How did you thank beings who had just done the impossible? Junho removed his helmet. His face was dirty and tired, but his eyes were bright. "Colony secure, Administrator. The Krell Queen is dead. The nests are destroyed. You'll have some cleanup to do, but the main threat is eliminated." Quilvin's voice shook. You saved us. All of us." "That's why we came," Yuna said simply. The other Veltharians emerged from hiding. They stared at the humans in awe and fear. The humans had done what an entire Galactic Council of Species said was impossible. One of the Veltharian children, a young female named Pyrrha, approached Junho carefully. She held out a small crystal, one of the ones the colony mined. "Thank you for saving us," she whispered. Junho knelt down to her level. His expression softened. He took the crystal gently. "You're welcome, Pyrrha. You're safe now." The child touched his hand briefly, then ran back to her mother. Junho stood up, holding the crystal. Quilvin saw something then. Something important. These humans, these Deathworlders, these beings from a planet that bred apex predators. They were killers, yes. But they were also protectors. They had the capacity for terrible violence. They had just proven that. But they also had something else. Compassion, kindness, the willingness to risk everything for strangers. "Why?" Quilvin asked again. "Why did you really come?" Junho looked at his team. They all nodded. He turned back to Quilvin. "Because you asked. Because you needed help. Because we could provide it. On Earth, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We try to be good people, Administrator, even if we're not very good at it sometimes." That night, As the Veltharians celebrated their survival and the humans rested, Quilvin sent a message to the Galactic Council. He told them what had happened. He told them about the humans. He told them that the galaxy had been wrong about Deathworlders. The galaxy was about to change. And 5 humans from Earth had started that change. The morning after the Queen's death, Quilvin expected the humans to rest. They had fought for 8 hours straight. They had sustained injuries. By any reasonable standard, they should need at least a full day of recovery. Instead, he found them in the colony's common area at dawn, already suited up and checking their equipment. "What are you doing?" Quilvin asked. Junho looked up from cleaning his weapon. "Finishing the job. The Queen is dead, but there are still Krell warriors in the tunnels. They're disorganized now, but they're still dangerous. We need to clear them out completely. But you just fought through the night. You need rest." Yuna smiled at him. "We got 4 hours of sleep. That's enough." 4 hours. Quilvin needed at least 8 hours of rest after a normal day. These humans had fought through hell and thought 4 hours was enough. "How many Krell do you think remain?" Dongwu asked. Quilvin checked his scanners. "Approximately 300, scattered through the tunnel system. They're forming smaller groups, clustering in the deeper sections." "Hunting behavior," Taeyang observed. "Without the Queen's coordination, they're falling back on instinct. That makes them more unpredictable but less organized. It also makes them more desperate," Hana added. "Desperate creatures are dangerous." "Good thing we're more dangerous," Dongwu said. Quilvin wanted to protest. He wanted to tell them to rest, to let the Veltharians handle the remaining Krell somehow. But he knew his people couldn't do it. 300 Krell warriors would slaughter every Veltharian in the colony. "I'm coming with you," Quilvin said suddenly. All 5 humans turned to look at him. "No," Junho said flatly. "This is my colony, my people. I should help. Administrator, with respect, you would be a liability down there. You're not trained for combat. You're not adapted for those conditions. You would be in danger, and we would have to protect you instead of focusing on the mission." The words stung because they were true. Quilvin was useless as a fighter, but he needed to do something. "Then at least let me monitor from here. Guide you through the tunnel systems. I know these mines better than anyone." Junho considered this. "That would actually be helpful. Yes, you can be our eyes from above." The humans descended into the tunnels again. Quilvin watched from the command center, his station now equipped with detailed maps and communication equipment. Telvara sat beside him, monitoring the human life signs. The first group of Krell warriors was in Tunnel Section 7, approximately 15 of them clustered around a water source. "Captain, you have hostiles ahead. 15 confirmed, possibly more in the side chambers," Quilvin reported. "Acknowledged. Can you seal the side chambers remotely?" Quilvin checked his controls. "Yes, but only temporarily. The doors are damaged." "Temporary is enough." "Seal them on my mark." The humans approached the Krell. Quilvin watched from multiple camera angles. The Krell noticed the humans and prepared to attack. "Mark," Junho said. Quilvin triggered the doors. They slammed shut, sealing the side chambers. Now the Krell could only come from one direction. The humans set up a firing line and waited. The Krell charged. The humans opened fire. It was methodical, mechanical. Each human aimed and fired with practiced precision. The Krell fell one after another. Within 3 minutes, all 15 were dead. The humans moved forward. "Administrator," Yuna's voice came through the speaker. "I'm seeing some unusual readings in Section 12. Can you check that area?" Quilvin pulled up the Section 12 monitors. He gasped. "There's a secondary nest, a small one. It must have been established before the Queen died." "How many eggs?" "Approximately 50. We need to destroy it before they hatch. Guide us there." Quilvin directed them through the tunnels. They encountered more Krell warriors along the way. Each fight was shorter than the last. The humans were learning the Krell's patterns. They were adapting. "How are you doing this?" Telvara asked quietly, watching the monitors. "They're improving with every fight." Quilvin pulled up information on human learning capacity. What he read made him uncomfortable. Humans had evolved with very flexible brains. They could adapt to new situations quickly. They learned from mistakes in real time. On Earth, this ability had meant the difference between survival and death. The humans reached the secondary nest. It was smaller than the Queen's chamber, but still dangerous. Krell warriors guarded it. But these were younger warriors, less experienced. Hana placed charges around the chamber while the others provided cover fire. When she was done, they retreated to a safe distance. "Detonating," Hana said. The explosion echoed through the tunnels. Another nest destroyed. They continued clearing the tunnels section by section. Each time they encountered Krell, the humans handled them efficiently. Quilvin began to understand something about how humans fought. They didn't just use strength. They used intelligence. They used the environment. They used strategy. Every fight was different because they adapted their tactics to fit the situation. In Section 19, the tunnels were partially flooded. The Krell were using the water to their advantage, attacking from below the surface. The humans adapted. Dongwu used his helmet lights to track movement in the water. Tai Yang aimed where Dongwu directed. They killed Krell they couldn't even see. In Section 23, the ceiling was unstable. A fight risked collapsing the entire section. The humans used that. They lured the Krell to a specific spot. Then Hana brought down the ceiling on top of them. Problem solved without firing a shot. In Section 31, the tunnels were too narrow for weapons. The Krell thought this gave them an advantage. They were wrong. The humans switched to close combat. Quilvin watched in horror as Junho fought a Krell warrior hand-to-hand in a space barely wide enough for both of them. The human won. "How are you so adaptable?" Quilvin asked over the communication link. "Evolution," Taeyang answered while reloading his weapon. "Humans spread to every environment on Earth. Deserts, tundras, jungles, mountains, islands. We learned to survive anywhere. We learned to make any environment work for us instead of against us." Hours passed. The humans cleared section after section. The number of remaining Krell dropped. 300 became 200. 200 became 100. 100 became 50. Then they found something unexpected. In the deepest part of the mine, in a section that had been abandoned years ago, they found a massive chamber, and inside they found Krell like they had never seen before. These Krell were different. They were smaller, sleeker, their armor was darker, and they moved with terrifying speed. "New variant," Junho said carefully. "Administrator, are these in your database?" Quilvin searched. "No, these must be a specialized form. Perhaps hunters or scouts." "How many?" 20. "But Captain, they're moving differently. They're faster than the others. More coordinated." "Elite units," Taeyang said. "Most insect species have them. Stronger, smarter individuals for special tasks." The elite Krell attacked. They were indeed faster. They dodged shots that would have hit normal Krell. They worked together, flanking and feinting. For the first time, the humans struggled. Junho took a bad hit to his side. Yuna was knocked down. Dongwu's weapon jammed. Quilvin watched in growing fear. Were these Krell finally going to be too much for the humans? Then something changed. The humans stopped fighting as 5 individuals. They moved even closer together, their movements synchronized perfectly. They became a single unit. "Formation Delta," Junho said, his voice tight with pain. The humans shifted. They formed a tight circle, backs to each other. Each one covered a specific arc. The elite Krell circled them, looking for an opening. There was no opening. The Krell attacked together. The humans responded together. Every attack was blocked. Every counterattack found a target. The elite Krell were fast, but the humans were faster when they worked as one. Slowly, methodically, the humans killed all 20 elite Krell. When the last one fell, Junho collapsed. Yuna was beside him instantly, medical equipment out. "How bad?" Taeyang asked. "Bad enough. He needs surgery," Yuna replied. Her hands worked quickly, stabilizing Junho's condition. "We need to get back to the colony." "The tunnels aren't clear yet," Junho said through gritted teeth. "They're clear enough. The remaining Krell are scattered. The colonists can handle the stragglers with their defense systems. You need medical attention now." They returned to the colony. Quilven met them at the entrance and was shocked at what he saw. All 5 humans were injured now. Junho could barely walk. Dongwu's left arm hung limp. Hana had a deep gash across her back. Taeyang was limping. Even Yuna had cuts and burns covering her arms. But they had done it. The tunnels were effectively clear. The Krell threat was ended. The Veltharian medical staff rushed forward to help, but Yuna waved them away. "I'll handle Junho's surgery myself. Your medical training isn't compatible with human physiology." She set up in the medical bay and began working on Junho. Quilven watched through the window. The wound was terrible. The Krell claw had torn through muscle and cracked a rib. Any Veltharian with such an injury would be dead. But Yuna worked with steady hands. She repaired damaged tissue. She set the broken bone. She closed the wound layer by layer. 3 hours later, Junho was stable. He was unconscious but stable. "He'll recover," Yuna said, washing blood from her hands. "Give him 2 days." 2 days? Quilven was amazed. That injury should take weeks to heal, even with advanced medicine. Human bodies heal quickly. It's another adaptation. When you live on a world where injuries are common, you evolve to recover fast or you die. Quilven looked at the 5 humans. They had come to Theta 7 as strangers. They had fought against impossible odds. They had saved his people, and they had done it all without asking for anything in return. "Why?" he asked Yuna. "Why do humans do this? Risk everything for people you don't know?" Yuna sat down heavily. She was exhausted. Her own injuries still needed treatment, but she took time to answer. "Because someone has to," she said simply. "Because if we don't help when we can, then what kind of beings are we? Earth taught us to be tough. It taught us to survive, but it also taught us that we survive better together. Humans learned a long time ago that the strongest communities are the ones that protect their weakest members. You're not our community, not yet, but you asked for help. That was enough." She stood up and went to treat her own injuries. Quilven sat in the medical bay watching the humans rest. These Deathworlders, these apex predators, these beings that the galaxy feared. They weren't monsters. They were heroes, and the galaxy needed to know that. Junho woke to pain. It was familiar pain, the kind that told him his body was healing. He had felt it many times before. Broken bones, torn muscles, damaged organs. Earth was good at hurting you, and humans were good at surviving it. He opened his eyes. The medical bay was quiet. Through the window, he could see Veltharians moving around outside. They looked at him with a mix of fear and gratitude. "You're awake," Yuna said. She was sitting in a chair nearby, medical scanner in hand. "How do you feel?" "Like I fought 20 elite Krell," Junho said, sitting up slowly. The pain intensified, but remained manageable. "How long was I out?" 18 hours. Your body is healing faster than I expected. You must have a good genetic profile." Junho checked his wound. It was sealed and already starting to scar. In a few days, it would be just another mark on his collection. He had many scars. Every human soldier did. They were reminders of survival. "Status report," he said. "Taeyang and Dongwu are conducting a final sweep of the tunnels. Hana is helping the Veltharians repair their defense systems. I've been treating injured colonists. Most of them will recover fully." "And the Krell?" 97% eliminated. The remaining stragglers are disorganized and avoiding contact. The colonists can handle them with their automated defenses. Junho nodded. The mission was essentially complete. They had done what they came to do. But something bothered him. The elite Krell. They had been different, more organized, almost intelligent. Yuna, those elite Krell, they fought with tactics. They worked together. That's unusual for insect species after their queen dies. I noticed that too. I examined their bodies. Their brain structures are more developed than normal Krell. They're not just warriors. They're problem solvers. A thought occurred to Junho. A disturbing thought. If the queen had elite Krell, what else might she have had? Before Yuna could answer, an alarm sounded. Quilvin's voice came over the communication system, high and panicked. "Humans! We have a massive seismic reading from the deep mines! Something is moving down there!" Junho was on his feet instantly, pain forgotten. He grabbed his equipment and headed for the command center. Yuna followed. Quilvin was staring at his monitors in horror. The seismic readings showed something large moving through the collapsed section where they had killed the queen. "That's impossible," Quilvin said. "Nothing could survive that collapse. Thousands of tons of rock fell." "Show me the readings," Junho demanded. The data was clear. Something very large was moving, and it was moving toward the surface. "It's the queen," Taeyang's voice came through the communicator. He and Dongwu were still in the tunnels. "She's alive, and she's angry." "How?" Yuna asked. "I saw that collapse. Nothing could survive it." "Insect queens have redundant organ systems," Taeyang explained. "She must have gone into a hibernation state to survive. Now she's awake and digging out." Junho pulled up the map. The queen was 3 levels down, moving through the rock. At her current speed, she would reach the colony in less than an hour. "Can we seal her in?" Junho asked. Quilvin shook his head. "The tunnels are too damaged. She'll break through any barriers we set up." "Then we fight her here in the colony?" "No," Hana's voice joined the conversation. "If she fights here, the colony will be destroyed. These walls weren't built to withstand that kind of combat." Junho thought quickly. They needed to draw the queen away from the colony. They needed to fight her in a place where collateral damage didn't matter. "Is there an open area near the colony? Somewhere with space to maneuver?" "The Crystal Quarry," Quilvin said. "It's a large open pit about 1 kilometer from here, but it's completely exposed. No cover, no protection." "Perfect. That's where we'll fight her." "Captain," Quilvin protested, "you're injured. Your team is exhausted. You can't fight the queen now." Junho looked at his team through the monitors. Taeyang was battered but steady. Dongwu was favoring his injured arm but still mobile. Hana had treated her wounds and was ready. Yuna stood beside him, scanner packed and weapon loaded. "We can fight," Junho said. "We're humans. This is what we do." They prepared quickly. Hana grabbed every explosive they had left. Taeyang checked ammunition counts. Dongwu stretched his injured arm, testing its range of motion. Yuna made sure all their medical supplies were stocked. Junho suited up, ignoring the pain in his side. He had fought through worse. Every human soldier had. "One more thing," Junho said to Quilvin. "I need you to evacuate the colony. Get everyone to the ships. If this goes wrong, I want your people safe." "If this goes wrong, you'll all die," Quilvin said quietly. "Maybe, but we'll die making sure you live. Now evacuate." Quilvin wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in the humans' eyes. They had made their choice. The Veltharians began evacuating. Parents carried children. The elderly were helped to the transport ships. Within 30 minutes, only Quilvin and Telvara remained in the command center, monitoring the situation. The humans moved to the Crystal Quarry. It was a massive open pit, carved into the moon's surface over years of mining. The ground was uneven, covered with loose rock and crystal formations. The walls were steep and unstable. "Not ideal terrain," Dongwu observed. "Better than fighting her in the colony," Taeyang replied. They spread out, taking positions around the quarry. Each human carried as much ammunition and explosives as they could manage. This would be their last stand. Win or lose, it ended here. The ground shook. Rock crumbled from the quarry walls. Then, with a roar that shook the very air, the Krell Queen emerged. Quilvin, watching from the command center, gasped. The queen was even larger than before. The collapse had damaged her, but insect bodies could survive incredible trauma. One of her arms was crushed. Her armor was cracked in multiple places, but she was alive, and she was furious. The queen spotted the humans. She roared again, a sound of rage and pain and hunger. "Here we go," Junho said quietly. The queen charged. Despite her size and injuries, she moved with terrible speed. Her remaining claws tore into the ground, propelling her forward. The humans opened fire. Bullets struck her armor, chipping it but not penetrating. The queen barely slowed. "Armor's too thick," Taeyang shouted. "Target the damaged sections," Junho ordered. They adjusted their aim, focusing on the cracks in her armor. Now the bullets penetrated, drawing dark blood. The queen roared in pain but didn't stop. She reached Dongwu first. Her massive claw swept toward him. Dongwu rolled under the strike, came up and fired at point-blank range into a crack in her chest armor. The queen screamed and backhanded him. Dongwu flew 20 meters and crashed into the quarry wall. "Dongwu," Yuna shouted. "I'm okay," he called back, struggling to his feet. "That hurt, though." The queen turned toward Hana. Hana threw an explosive at the queen's face. The explosion blinded the queen temporarily. Hana ran, leading the queen away from Dongwu's position. Taeyang used the distraction to flank the queen. He emptied his weapon into her side, targeting the same damaged area. The queen spun, faster than something that size should move, and caught Taeyang with her tail. He went down hard. Junho and Yuna attacked together. They moved in perfect sync, years of training showing. Junho went high, Yuna went low. They fired continuously, hammering the same weak points. The queen was bleeding now. Dark blood leaked from multiple wounds, but she was still strong, still dangerous. She grabbed a massive boulder and threw it at Junho. He dodged, but the boulder hit a crystal formation behind him. The formation exploded, sending razor-sharp shards everywhere. Several cut through Junho's armor. Yuna reached him, pulling him behind cover. "You're bleeding." "Not important. We need to bring her down." "Her armor is too strong. We can't penetrate deep enough to hit vital organs." Junho looked at the queen. She was standing in the center of the quarry, roaring her fury. Around her, the ground was littered with spent ammunition and blood, both human and Krell. Then Junho saw it, the opportunity they needed. The queen was standing on an unstable section of the quarry floor. Below her, a massive crystal deposit ran deep into the moon's surface. If they could shatter that deposit, the queen would fall into the resulting pit. "Hana!" Junho called. "Can you collapse the ground under the queen?" Hana looked at the formation. Her eyes widened. "Yes, but I need to get close to place the charges, really close." "Do it! We'll cover you!" Hana grabbed her remaining explosives and ran. The other 4 humans drew the queen's attention, firing from different angles, keeping her distracted. The queen tried to reach them, but they were too fast, too spread out. Every time she focused on one, another attacked from behind. Hana reached the crystal formation. She placed charges at key structural points. The queen noticed her and turned. "Not yet," Hana shouted. 30 more seconds." The queen charged at Hana. Junho ran to intercept. With his injured body, he couldn't match the queen's speed. He wouldn't reach Hana in time, so he did the only thing he could. He threw himself directly into the queen's path. The queen's claw caught him full force. Junho felt ribs break, felt his armor crush, felt pain explode through his entire body, but he had bought seconds, precious seconds. "Done!" Hana screamed. "Detonating!" The explosives went off. The crystal formation shattered. The ground collapsed. The queen fell, roaring, into a pit 30 meters deep. She crashed to the bottom among broken crystals and rock. The impact crushed her remaining legs. Her armor finally broke completely, but she was still alive, still trying to move. "Finish it!" Junho gasped. Blood filled his mouth. Tai Yang, limping badly, reached the edge of the pit. He aimed carefully at the queen's exposed head. He fired once. The queen stopped moving. Silence fell over the quarry. Slowly, painfully, the humans gathered together. Dongwu had a concussion. Taiyang's leg was broken. Hana's hands were burned from handling the explosives. Yuna had cuts covering her arms and face, and Junho could barely breathe. His chest was crushed. Internal bleeding was severe. Even human resilience had limits. Yuna knelt beside him, scanner out. Her face went pale. "How bad?" Junho asked. "Bad. I need to get you to the medical bay immediately." "The queen? Dead. It's over. We won." Junho smiled despite the pain. "Good. That's good." The other humans carefully lifted Junho and carried him back to the colony. Each step was agony. Junho's vision faded in and out. But they had won. The Veltharians were safe. The mission was complete. As consciousness left him, Junho's last thought was simple. Worth it. Yuna worked through the night. Junho's injuries were severe, even by human standards. Crushed ribs, punctured lung, internal bleeding, multiple fractures. She had to repair damage to his liver and kidneys. She had to set bones and seal blood vessels. The Veltharian medical staff watched in amazement. They had never seen surgery like this. Yuna worked with absolute confidence, her hands steady despite her own exhaustion and injuries. "How do you know what to do?" one Veltharian doctor asked. "Practice," Yuna said without looking up. "Human medicine advanced through treating combat injuries. We've had thousands of years of wars to perfect our techniques." She worked for 6 hours straight. When she finally finished, Junho was stable but still critical. Quilvin found her afterward, sitting in the hallway outside the medical bay. She was staring at nothing, her hands shaking slightly from adrenaline crash. "Will he survive?" Quilvin asked. "Yes. His body is already starting to heal. In a week, he'll be functional. In a month, you won't even know he was injured." "That's incredible." "That's human biology. We're built to take damage and keep going." Quilvin sat beside her. "I need to understand something. Captain Junho threw himself at the queen. He knew it would likely kill him. Why would he do that?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. "Because Hana needed more time. Because saving the colony was more important than saving himself. Because that's what humans do." "But why? It's not logical. It's not rational." "No," Yuna agreed. "It's not. But humans aren't just logical creatures. We're also emotional. We have instincts that tell us to protect others, even at cost to ourselves. It's part of how we evolved. Early humans survived by working together, by sacrificing for the group. Those instincts are still in us." She looked at Quilvin. "You asked why we came. That's why. Because we're built to help. Even when it's not logical." Over the next 2 days, all the humans recovered. Junho regained consciousness and immediately wanted a mission report. Dongwu's concussion healed. Taeyang's leg was set and already mending. Hana's burns were treated and bandaging. Yuna's cuts closed. The Veltharians watched in amazement. Injuries that should have taken weeks or months to heal were improving in days. "Your bodies heal so quickly," Telvara observed. "How is it possible?" "Evolution," Taiyang explained. He was using crutches but moving around. "Earth is dangerous. Injuries happen constantly. Humans who healed quickly survived and had children. Humans who healed slowly died. After millions of years, we became very good at healing." "But the pain," a Veltharian medic said. You've all experienced terrible pain. How do you function? Pain is just information, Hana said. It tells us something is wrong, but we can choose how to respond to it. Humans learned to work through pain because stopping meant dying. The Veltharians struggled to understand. Their species had evolved on a gentle world. Pain was rare. Injuries were uncommon. The concept of pushing through agony was foreign to them. On the third day, Junho was able to walk. His movements were careful, but he was mobile. The humans gathered in the command center with Quilven and his senior staff. The Krell threat is eliminated, Junho said. You're safe now. We'll be leaving tomorrow. Where will you go? Quilven asked. Back to Earth. We need to make a full report and get proper medical treatment. We cannot thank you enough, Quilven said. You saved our entire colony. You risked your lives for complete strangers. This goes against everything we understand about the galaxy. Most species act in self-interest. Maybe, Junho said, but acting only in self-interest is how you end up alone. Humans learned that the hard way. We're stronger together. Quilven hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering him since the humans arrived. Why did you come? I need to truly understand. Your people aren't part of the Galactic Council. You owe us nothing. You gained nothing from helping us. You nearly died. Why? Junho looked at his team. They nodded. He turned back to Quilven. Because you asked for help, and because we can. That's reason enough. But the risk is part of life, Yuna interrupted. Especially for humans. We evaluate risk, but we don't let it paralyze us. You needed help. We could provide it. The math was simple. You could have died. All of you. Yes, Taeyang agreed. We could have. But we didn't. And now your people live. That's worth the risk. Quilven realized he was seeing something fundamental about humans. They calculated risks, but they also valued other things. Helping others, protecting the weak, standing against evil. These things had value that couldn't be measured in simple survival calculations. We would like to request formally that Earth join the Galactic Council, Quilven said. Your species has proven itself. You're not just warriors, you're protectors. The galaxy needs that. Junho shook his head. That's not our decision to make. Our government will decide if Earth wants to join, but I'll deliver your request. That evening, the Veltharians held a celebration. They wanted to honor the humans before they left. The entire colony gathered in the main hall. The humans looked uncomfortable with the attention. They stood together, dressed in clean clothes, their weapons finally set aside. Quilven gave a speech. He talked about the Krell attack. He talked about the distress signal that no one answered. He talked about the 5 humans who came when everyone else turned away. These beings, Quilven said, came from a world we classify as a death world. A planet so dangerous that most species couldn't survive there. We feared them because of that classification, but we were wrong to fear them. He looked at the humans. Yes, they're dangerous. Yes, they're capable of terrible violence, but they're also capable of incredible compassion. They're predators, but they're also protectors. They're warriors, but they're also healers. They're everything the galaxy said was impossible. They're Deathworlders with hearts. The Veltharians applauded. The humans looked even more uncomfortable. A group of children approached, led by young Pyrrha. Each child held a crystal, the same type Pyrrha had given Junho earlier. These are for you, Pyrrha said, to remember us, and to thank you. Each human accepted a crystal. Junho knelt down to Pyrrha's level again. We'll remember you, he promised. All of you. You're the first aliens humanity helped. That's important. That means something. Will you come back? Pyrrha asked. Maybe. If you need us. If anyone needs us. Humans are good at showing up when called. Later that night, Junho found Quilven alone in the command center. The administrator was writing reports, documenting everything that happened. Can't sleep, Junho asked. Too much to process. My people were saved by beings we were taught to fear. The galaxy's assumptions were wrong. Everything we thought we knew about Deathworlders was incomplete. What will you tell them? The Galactic Council? Quilvin thought about this. The truth. That humans are dangerous, yes. But danger isn't the same as evil. That humans are capable of violence, but also capable of mercy. That strength without compassion is just brutality, but strength with compassion is protection. He looked at Junho. I'll tell them that the galaxy needs to reconsider what we think we know. We've become soft. We civilized species. We've lived so long without real threats that we forgot what it means to fight. We forgot what it means to sacrifice. You reminded us. We're not perfect, Junho said. Humans have done terrible things to each other. We've had wars, genocides, cruelties. We're not heroes. No, Quilvin agreed. But you can choose to be heroes. That's what matters. You chose to help us. You chose to risk everything for strangers. That choice defines you more than your capacity for violence. The next morning, the humans prepared to leave. The Veltharians gathered to see them off. There were tears. There were thanks. There were promises to remember. As the human ship prepared to launch, Quilvin stood with Telvara and watched. The galaxy is going to change, Telvara said quietly. Yes, Quilvin agreed. Humans are out here now. They've made contact. They've shown what they can do. Nothing will be the same. The human ship lifted off, rising into the sky. It accelerated and disappeared into the stars. Quilvin returned to his office and composed a message to the Galactic Council. He told them everything. The Krell attack, the human response, the battle, the victory, the cost. He ended with a recommendation. Humanity should be invited to join the Galactic Council immediately. They are not a threat. They are the protection we didn't know we needed. The galaxy has lived in peace for so long that we forgot dangers exist. Humans haven't forgotten. They're ready to face dangers we can't handle. They're ready to stand between the innocent and harm. We need them. Whether the Council admits it or not, we need them. He sent the message and waited. The galaxy was about to learn about humanity. Some would welcome them. Some would fear them. Some would see them as threats. But Quilvin knew the truth. The humans weren't threats. They were guardians. And the galaxy was about to discover what it meant to have Deathworlder guardians standing watch. The message from Theta 7 reached the Galactic Council 3 days later. It spread through the council chambers like fire through dry grass. Representatives from hundreds of species read Administrator Quilvin's report. Reactions varied wildly. The Draxian ambassador called an emergency session. This is concerning. A Class 12 Deathworld species has engaged in military action outside their home system. This violates protocols. They saved lives, the Corvin representative countered. They responded to a distress signal we all ignored. That makes it worse, the Zenthari delegate said. It shows they're willing to act independently, to make decisions without council approval. That's dangerous. The debate raged for hours. Some species saw humans as saviors. Others saw them as a threat. A few saw them as potential allies. Many weren't sure what to think. In a private chamber, 5 senior council members met secretly. These were the real power in the Galactic Council. They decided what information reached the public. They decided policy. They had maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years. Humans, the eldest said. His species was the Eldar, ancient beings who had guided the Council since its founding. This is unprecedented. They're too dangerous, another member said. This one was Kragnoth, a warrior species. If they can eliminate a Krell nest with 5 individuals, imagine what they could do with an army. Exactly, a third member said. She was Vortan, a species known for logic and calculation. They're too useful to ignore. We should recruit them. Or contain them, the Kragnoth member said darkly, before they become a threat. The debate continued, but while the council argued, the galaxy was already reacting. On Earth, Captain Junho and his team arrived home. They were debriefed by Admiral Minho and the other military leaders. Their report was detailed and honest. They had made first contact. They had engaged in combat. They had saved an alien species. "The Galactic Council will respond," Admiral Minho said. "We don't know how yet, but Earth needs to be ready." "Ready for what?" Junho asked. "For whatever comes next. We're not hidden anymore. The galaxy knows we exist. We need to decide what kind of relationship we want with them." Earth's government debated. Some wanted to join the Galactic Council immediately. Others wanted to remain independent. Some wanted to become protectors of the weak. Others wanted to focus on Earth's own development. But the decision was made for them when the next distress signal arrived. It came from a mining station orbiting a gas giant. The station was under attack by pirates, and its small security force was being overwhelmed. 300 workers were trapped. "We need to respond," Junho said when he heard the news. "You're still recovering," Admiral Minho pointed out. "I'm functional, and those people need help." Admiral Minho looked at the distress signal. Then he looked at Junho and his team. Then he made a decision that would change human history. "Go. Help them. But take a larger team this time. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do." A week later, Earth sent a ship with 20 human soldiers to the mining station. They arrived to find the pirates still attacking. The humans boarded the station and engaged. The pirates were shocked. They had expected weak civilian security, not trained Deathworlder soldiers. The humans cleared the station in 4 hours. They saved all 300 workers without losing a single soldier. News spread. Humans had responded to another distress call. Again, they had succeeded. More distress signals started coming to Earth. Some were genuine emergencies. Some were tests from the Galactic Council, trying to understand human capabilities. Some were traps from species that saw humans as threats. Earth responded to them all. They helped where help was needed. They fought where fighting was necessary. They showed mercy where mercy was appropriate. The galaxy began to understand. Humans weren't just warriors. They were flexible. They could fight or heal, destroy or build, depending on what the situation required. 6 months after Theta 7, the Galactic Council officially contacted Earth. The message was formal and careful. "The Galactic Council extends an invitation to humanity to join as probationary members. We recognize your capabilities and your willingness to aid others. We would welcome human participation in galactic affairs." Earth accepted, but on their own terms. "We'll join," the human ambassador said at the first council meeting. "But we won't be bound by rules that prevent us from helping those in need. We'll work with the council, but we won't need permission to answer distress calls." The council didn't like it, but they accepted it, because they had learned what Quilvin learned. Humans were too useful to reject, even if they were too independent to control. Captain Junho and his team became famous across the galaxy. Songs were written about the 5 humans who saved Theta 7. Children on dozens of worlds learned their names. They became symbols of human courage and compassion. But Junho didn't want fame. He just wanted to help. So when the next distress call came, he and his team answered it. Then the next one, and the next. 1 year after Theta 7, a massive crisis occurred. A hostile alien species called the Vexnar emerged from dark space. They had destroyed dozens of civilizations over centuries. They were now heading toward the core systems of the Galactic Council. The Council panicked. They had no military that could stop the Vexnar. They had lived in peace so long that they had forgotten how to wage war. They sent a desperate message to Earth. "We need help. The Vexnar are coming. We can't stop them. We were wrong to fear you. We were wrong to hesitate. Please, help us." Admiral Minho called a meeting of Earth's military leaders. Captain Junho was there, now promoted to commander. His team had grown. He now led a battalion of human soldiers all trained for alien contact and combat. "They're asking us to save the galaxy," Admiral Minho said. "That's a tall order." "We've handled tall orders before," Junho said. "This is different. This is war. Real war, against an enemy that's destroyed civilizations." "Then we'll need to be ready." Earth mobilized. Not just soldiers, but engineers, medics, strategists. Humanity had experience with war. Thousands of years of experience. Now they would use that experience to protect species that had never known real conflict. The human fleet arrived at the Galactic Council's core worlds 3 weeks later. 20 ships, 5,000 soldiers, weapons designed for space combat, tactics developed from centuries of human warfare. The Vexnar were already attacking. Their ships were organic, grown rather than built. Their weapons were powerful. Their numbers were vast. But they had never fought humans before. The battle lasted 3 days. The humans fought with every lesson Earth had ever taught them. They used tactics the Vexnar had never seen. They adapted to Vexnar strategies in real time. They sacrificed and struggled and bled and won. When it was over, the Vexnar fleet was destroyed. Their invasion was stopped. The Galactic Council was saved. The cost was high. Earth lost 800 soldiers. 3 ships were destroyed. Commander Junho was injured again, this time losing his right leg below the knee. But the galaxy was safe. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council held a ceremony. They honored the human dead. They thanked the human soldiers. They formally welcomed Earth as a full member, not probationary. Commander Junho stood before the council on his new prosthetic leg. Beside him stood his team. They were all there: Yuna, Taiyang, Hana, Dongwu. They had survived Theta 7. They had survived dozens of missions after. They had survived the Vexnar War. The council leader, an Eldar elder, spoke to the assembled representatives from every galactic species. "We feared humans because they come from a death world. We feared their violence. We feared their independence. We were wrong to fear them. We should have welcomed them." He turned to Junho. "Humanity has shown us something we forgot. That strength must be used to protect the weak. That violence has a place when it defends the innocent. That sometimes the most dangerous beings make the best guardians." He addressed the whole council. "From this day forward, humanity is not just a member of this council. They are its protectors. When danger comes, when threats emerge, when someone needs help, we will call on Earth. Because we now know what Administrator Quilvin learned at Theta 7. Humans are Deathworlders, yes, but they're Deathworlders with hearts." The council chamber erupted in applause. Representatives from hundreds of species stood and acknowledged the humans. Junho looked at his team. They had come a long way from that first distress signal. They had shown the galaxy what humanity could be. That night, Junho stood alone on the observation deck of the human flagship. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Theta 7. Somewhere out there was Quilvin and his people, living safely because 5 humans had answered a call for help. Yuna joined him at the window. She stood quietly beside him for a moment. "Thinking about how it all started?" she asked. "Yeah. One distress signal. That's all it took to change everything. Do you regret it? Any of it?" Junho touched his prosthetic leg. He thought about his scars. He thought about the soldiers who didn't come home. He thought about the pain and the fighting and the endless missions. Then he thought about Theta 7, about the Veltharian children who were alive, about the mining station workers who were saved, about the dozens of worlds that had been protected, about the entire Galactic Council that had been defended. "No," he said firmly. "No regrets. This is what humans do. This is who we are." "Deathworlders with hearts," Yuna said, repeating the council leader's words. "I guess so. Earth made us tough, but it also made us care. That's the part the galaxy didn't expect." Taeyang, Hana, and Dongwu joined them at the window. The five of them stood together looking out at the galaxy they had helped save. "What do you think comes next?" Dongwu asked. "More distress signals," Junho said. "More people who need help. More missions." "Good," Hana said. "I'd be bored otherwise." They all laughed. It was true. Humans weren't meant for quiet lives. Earth had bred that out of them long ago. They were meant to struggle, to fight, to overcome. But they were also meant to protect, to help, to stand between danger and those who couldn't defend themselves. "The galaxy is lucky to have us," Taeyang said. "Maybe," Junho replied, "or maybe we're lucky to have found a purpose. Earth taught us to survive. Now the galaxy is teaching us why we survive, to protect others." Far away, on Theta 7, Administrator Quilvin stood in his rebuilt colony. The scars of the Krell attack were fading. New buildings had been constructed, new families had arrived, life had returned to normal. But Quilvin would never forget. He kept the communication logs from that terrible day, the distress signal that no one answered, except for 5 humans from a death world. Young Pyrrha ran up to him, now a little older, a little braver. "Administrator, I heard the news. The humans saved the whole galaxy from the Vexnar." "Yes," Quilvin said, smiling. "They did. Just like they saved us. Just like they saved us." Pyrrha looked up at the stars. "When I grow up, I want to be like them. I want to help people." Quilvin knelt down to her level, just like Junho had done. "Then you will be. The humans taught us something important. That being strong means protecting those who are weak. That having power means using it to help others. You can do that too, Pyrrha. Any of us can. Even Veltharians? Even Veltharians. We might not be as strong as humans. We might not be from a death world, but we can have the same courage, the same compassion. That's what really matters." Pyrrha hugged him and ran off to play. Quilvin watched her go, then looked up at the stars again. Somewhere up there. The humans were still working, still answering distress calls, still protecting the galaxy. The galaxy had changed. Before humans, civilized species had become soft. They had forgotten that the universe could be dangerous. They had forgotten that sometimes you needed to fight. Humans remembered. Earth had made sure they could never forget. But humans had also taught the galaxy something else. That violence alone wasn't enough. That strength without purpose was just destruction. That the strongest warriors could also be the gentlest protectors. The Galactic Council had feared Deathworlders. They had been right to respect the danger. But they had been wrong to assume that danger made humans monsters. Humans were dangerous, incredibly dangerous, but they were dangerous to those who threatened the innocent. They were dangerous to bullies and predators and invaders. To those who needed help, humans were something else entirely. They were hope. They were rescue. They were the answer to distress signals that no one else would answer. Back on Earth, Admiral Minho reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Human teams were spread throughout Council space now. Some were training alien security forces. Some were responding to emergencies. Some were exploring dangerous regions that other species couldn't survive. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as explorers, as guardians. Earth's harsh nature had created beings who could survive anywhere, fight anything, overcome any obstacle. But Earth had also created beings who understood suffering, who understood fear, who understood the need for protection. Other species had evolved on gentle worlds. They had never needed to become warriors, but they needed warriors now. They needed someone to stand between them and the dangers of the universe. They needed Deathworlders. They needed humans. Admiral Minho approved the deployment orders. More human teams heading out, more missions, more lives to save. He thought about that first distress signal from Theta 7, about 5 humans who had changed everything just by answering. about how one act of courage had opened the galaxy to humanity. Sometimes the biggest changes started with the smallest actions. One distress signal, 5 humans, one decision to help. From that small beginning, everything else had followed. Admiral Minho smiled. He sent the deployment orders and returned to his work. There would always be more work, more distress signals. More people who needed help. But that was fine. Humans were good at this. Earth had prepared them for exactly this purpose: to survive the impossible, to fight the unbeatable, to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy had sent a distress signal. They hadn't expected Deathworlders to answer, but humans had answered, and they would keep answering for as long as the galaxy needed them, because that's what humans did. That's who they were. Deathworlders with hearts, warriors with compassion, predators who chose to protect instead of prey. And the galaxy would never be the same. The end.